Welcome and thank you for clicking on my video. I really do appreciate it. And yesterday on the live video, we were talking about how we were getting this today. But yesterday we were saying we have a good chance to gap up. And it would be very interesting if we do gap up above that weekly expected move. And we have done that as of right now. And then during that live video, we said now we can use it as support to maybe head higher in the future. That's something we're going to talk about today. But first, I wanted to be very, very clear with how I am thinking and where the stock market is at this current moment. And I'm really starting to think that Black Swan is coming around the corner. And the thing about a Black Swan, it could pop up at any time. So you want to be open to that happening. But where we're at right now, it could happen as soon as tomorrow. Not to scare you out or anything like that. I'm just stating that where stocks are at this very moment could end up being a Black Swan as far as tomorrow goes. But I believe it's in our very near future at the least. So we're going to get into some technical analysis for the SPY Qs, Apple, Tesla, Amazon, NVDA, AMD, and Meta today. And I just wanted to be very clear of my opinion in the beginning of this video. And oops, I had the Qs on there, but I just wanted to give my legitimate opinion. We're starting to hit this area again, and the Fed overall allowing the craziness to continue. And if the craziness keeps continuing and we keep seeing those yields go up, you're just asking for a banking crisis. You're asking for a commercial real estate crisis. You're asking for some kind of credit crisis going on. So we have to be open to that. Now, you guys did come today to see those daily expected moves for the SPY and the Qs here. So the SPY, we have 525.56 to the upside. Then we have 518.66 to the downside. So something very interesting here we're going to talk about in a moment. But first of all, yesterday's live video, we were stating, hey, if we gap higher, we can use these things as some support to head higher. Now, as we get above the weekly on the SPY, as we get above the monthly, look where we end up. We actually close within the monthly, so that's pretty interesting there. But we can use this area as support to then head higher, and you can see the little bit of a head and shoulders that could form to push us a little higher, maybe going to that daily expected move by end of day. We'll have to see what happens, but I would be very, very cautious in this area. And this is for one big reason. This is a 15-minute chart. I know we normally look at 30 minutes, 2 hours, and dailies, but this is a 15-minute chart here. And I just wanted to point out the fact that you are outside of the weekly as far as tomorrow. You're outside of the monthly. And if we get a big move up, you will then be outside of the daily all at the same time, which just tells me that there is a very good likelihood that there's actually a 68% chance and multiple 68% chances that you end up down in this area by end of day. So I am overall looking for that upside. We're in positive territory on the 15-minute. If we see that positivity come in, we could see that upward move. And NVIDIA and AMD really didn't pop today, and I still expect them to see some kind of real upward movement. Yes, NVIDIA was up about 1.18%, but we really were expecting some positivity coming from there. Apple also dragging the market back, but we were pretty right on this. Even live today, we were saying, hey, now you can use these as some form of support. So we're looking like we're right at that monthly expected move, and will we see that support going on into the morning? I'm going to be looking for some kind of divergence, because this up here outside the monthly, outside the weekly, and if we get outside the daily, I'm really going to start to say, hey, this thing has the potential to drop for some reason, whether that will be profit taking or some kind of Black Swan tomorrow. I'm open to both. Qs, we were mentioning a very similar thing. First of all, how did we catch this move? Well, while everyone was saying the world is going to burn, everything's going to drop, and everything's going to die, we just said live, calm down. We have the structure here to head higher. You have the head and shoulders here to head higher. So be very cautious. And we just said follow that 2 hour. That 2 hour crosses up, you're going to see positivity. That's exactly what happened. So even though, say a week ago, we were stating how the Fed interest rate could be bad news, well, 3 days before the event, I completely flipped and I go, you know what, this is going to surprise everyone, but we're flagging. We have this structure in here, and then we created more structure throughout this week to really give us that upward move. So we were not surprised by this, and we found some good trades that we posted out on Patreon, and I have people coming in the live video and telling me that those trades are going well. So I'm very happy to see that. But the structure higher, when we do see this breakout, we know that that was a very positive thing, right? Jerome Powell just aggressively being dovish, and we said we're probably going to gap up. We gapped up. Now we can say, hey, now we have the potential to use that weekly as some support to head higher. You see the left in this short time frame, you can see that right shoulder that could form even going on into the end of Friday, right? If we just have kind of a nothing day and just do something like this, we actually could see that positivity come in next week. And if the Qs then also get outside of its monthly expected move going on into next week, if the SPY's trading above it and the Qs are trading above it right as the month is about to end, we only have like a week or so left. I would be very cautious buying stocks up above this 457.29 on the Qs. So we can look for the Qs, right? The daily expected move here, 450.16 to the upside and 441.42 to the downside, kind of a short range. So if we do see that positivity come in, what are we going to look for? I'm going to look for some kind of divergence, and we're going to talk about that when we're watching this live. But that's really all you need to pay attention to here. If I go into a 2-hour, this thing is very, very positive at this point, and that's what I was mentioning when we do see this move. All you have to do is say, hey, if this curls up into positive territory, boom, look at that. It goes positive. We see that buy signal. We break out of this flag here, and we see that upward move. So we should not have been surprised by this by any means. And we actually gave some trade setups, such as, I can't remember. It was Tesla had some setups, Meta had some setups, and Amazon, I believe, all had setups that we gave out on Patreon, and people are taking advantage of that. So this is breaking out to the upside, and now we have to say this is a very strong move, and it needs to digest. So we could either see that profit taking come on in and then see that curl back around. Maybe we get this 2-hour to curl down, curl back up into positive territory. That would be bullish. Okay, so make sure to watch the whole video so you know we're not just all bearish around here. Just because we mentioned a black swan doesn't mean we're not trading the price action. So the thing that I would point out here, though, is you now have this possible divergence. If we do see that come up and then fail, seeing a 15-minute divergence, it might be a very good likelihood that we see this 2-hour actually confirm. So wait for this to actually happen, but if it does confirm and it's not able to roll back up, you could go down into a negative trend. We could start to take out this low. So once this base down in here is taken out, we most likely will be in that negative trend, and that's something to pay attention to on the Qs. Apple, this was my trade, and this was one of the trades we actually gave. So this was one of the bearish trades, right? The selling trade that we actually gave. So up here, we just noticed, guess what? We have weekly ranges that we pay attention to on Patreon for these individual stocks, and this is outside of its weekly range. And so we just noticed weakening in momentum up here, and so we see that play down, and I can look at the 2-hour, see if that crossed. You guys know I'm already out of this at this point. I am taking profit very, very quickly, trading like water, right? Just going through, looking which way the stream is going, getting a nice trade and getting out. Made about 200% on this in a couple of hours. So this is nothing. Once I make money, I'm pretty serious about being like, hey, I'm going to take profit just in case there is some kind of elongated bounce that really ruins me. I like to take my profit in a market like this. Okay, now we're coming up into a very important point. What does everyone that's watching this notice about this point? We talked about it during the live video. Where did you guys were like, how low could Apple go? I said this base right here. And look where we stopped. We stopped right around that base right there. So what could happen from here? Left, head. What if we get some kind of bounce going on into Friday that creates some kind of right shoulder? That is what I'm really paying attention to. This 2-hour, if it isn't able to curl back up in positive territory, this is going to be some kind of dead cat at this point, and we could see that fall to lower levels, seeing this flag really play out here. So I'm just paying attention to the price action. Could we get some kind of bounce? Yes, but does that form that right shoulder that we're talking about right now? That's what we have to pay attention to. The 2-hour has crossed. If that goes negative, just pull up the daily, okay? Make sure that isn't going negative as well. Not saying Apple has to go down forever. Not saying that at all, unless something really, really bad happens. But just look at Apple, guys, okay? Apple is such an important stock in the stock market, and this thing is down here while the market's way up in, la la land. So this is something that should be a big red flag to you. Apple is not participating in this move, and we know it is a very popular stock for those insiders, so you have to pay attention to it. But if this daily is able to roll over and get some steam back in it, you could see some divergence, possibly a future play before that earnings down the line. So something just to pay attention to before earnings. We could get some kind of divergence that gets us up in this area. We'll talk about that when it happens. But right now, you just have to watch this 2-hour and say, hey, this thing's going negative. Tesla, this was one of the trade setups we did give for a bullish setup. We noticed that there is this lower low down here, right? But we do have a flatness of the MACD. That tells us that there can be some kind of bounce possibly to get near positive territory. I say near because when I see this kind of MACD behavior, the probabilities of this just being some kind of bounce and then head to lower levels is higher. So because I don't have that on the RSI. Okay, I don't have anything on the RSI to tell me that the momentum is dying out. If anything, it's saying I need to go make a divergence in the future. So what could happen here is we could actually see this roll over. And this is another trade setup that actually came on a 30-minute that we mentioned on Patreon with our video that we give out on Patreon every single week. So This trade here is good. I just didn't do this one because of one reason, that daily, right? So the daily MACD has crossed over and this means that this actually does have the divergence at the same time. So you have potential for, Tesla to actually see a solid bounce here. And this is pretty solid at this point. You're taking back the 5. Now you're just stuck, right below the 20. So there is potential with this divergence down here for Tesla to see a bigger bounce, right? We see that on the RSI at the same time. So this is different, and this is overall crossing. And you guys know my rule. If you show up to the live videos, I say it pretty often when I do see it and people are trying to take shorts on it. I've been burned too many times taking a short in shorter time frames when the daily looks like this. This is the daily momentum, and it is much stronger than those shorter time frames. So you have to pay attention to when that dies out, because there could be some kind of big pop coming, and you don't want that to go the wrong way on you. But for Tesla, you really can just pay attention to this 2 hour, okay? If you did take this play that we did mention, right, you just want to see if this 2 hours actually able to go negative. If this is able to go negative, right, then you have that good shot to at least come fill this gap. Now, I'm not saying it has to go make a new low immediately. I am kind of leaning towards it making a low at this 154.78. But actually, we could just come fill this gap and then see that come back up. So the good part about this is that daily did cross, the momentum's dying. So if this 2 hour curls down and curls back up and it's able to fully go like strongly positive, you're going to most likely see a big move from Tesla going forward. And that's something interesting that we could talk about, because, maybe people actually do rotate out of the NVIDIAs if it does something like hits 1,000, which we're going to put the NVIDIA daily expected move out on Patreon. So if you want the daily expected moves for the individual stocks every Friday, join over to that Patreon. But pay attention to this 2 hour rolling over, because if it curls down, we could create that divergence, or we could create a higher low, which all you have to do is watch that 2 hour curl back up, go positive. Hey, now I'm going to go into a positive trend with a lower low, this high, maybe go make a higher high. So Tesla looking pretty like it wants to bounce higher. It does have those divergences that say the 2 hour most likely is curling down, but I never fight against that daily momentum. Amazon, this was a great trade, and this is one that a lot of people were talking about, okay? We talked about this flagging, but we mainly were saying, hey, we could come create, we didn't necessarily have this move, but we called it back in here. We could create some kind of head and shoulders in here if we need to grab some liquidity, right? So that's actually what happened, and this did break to the upside, but you're seeing that fail towards the end of the day. So it is coming down. Maybe it needs to test this level one more time before it heads back up. But one thing I would note here is you do have divergences across here, and those do, you have multiple point divergence on this MACD and the RSI at the same time. So this has a good likelihood to roll over on the daily scale. Now, if you were wanting to get into this trade, it would have been down here, right? Because we saw that 15-minute divergence. We saw the double bottom. We called it before it happened. Boom, goes above. Look at that, crosses into positive territory, strong bar moving forward. And then we know that weekly expected move was somewhere up here, right? So we get out when we approach that weekly expected move. Very, very good trading going on in the live show. You guys are telling me about some success you're having with these trade setups, and I love to see it. Now I'm just pointing out that there is divergence at this level, at multiple point divergence at this level, not necessarily holding in the nearest price action, but between this high up here, you're seeing that prove between these levels. So we could see this ripped away pretty quick. There is a bullish scenario here. Maybe this is the cup. We got a little excited. We need to dip back down. So if you want to see this go higher, if you want to see Amazon, which this is some pretty rough selling there, guys. It may dip down to lower levels, and then we could see this 30-minute curl back up. It's a good chance if the 30-minute curls back up, we're probably going to test these levels again, right? This little box right in here might get tested again. So if we do see that dip down like this, good shot that we're going to come test this level if we're able to curl up in positive territory. But really not looking good for Amazon on the 2 hour, so I will be staying away from any upside on Amazon. Pretty crazy how everyone was saying NVIDIA is going to crash to nothing right here, except us, right? We were just like, well, 840 hasn't broken yet, so I'm not that worried. Actually, the 2 hours still in positive territory, so that can curl up. So if that curls up into positive territory, we're seeing some of that right now. We're kind of flagging out maybe on those shorter time frames, and we could see a push higher going on into tomorrow. And this is really why I'm saying the Qs could get pushed into a tough spot where this hits over 1,000 and then it just gets ripped away tomorrow. So even though I think that could happen going on into next week, I want to be open to it. If that did happen, what would we see? We'd see a 2 hour divergence up here. So I'm just stating that something bad could be literally right around the corner. and everyone's banking on this maybe getting to 1,000. So hard to bet against NVIDIA. Really looks like it's going to, but we said the structure that it would look like before it's even happening. If it does go to a new all-time high, gets to 1,000, I'm expecting something like this to take place, and then we're able to take out that 840, and then that's when things might escalate a little bit, and we might see some downside, which maybe that actually rotates into Tesla and makes the daily divergence make a little bit of sense. One thing I would say about NVIDIA, if you're looking for that downside, let's say we don't go to that, really look for this 2 hour to fully cross down into negative territory. By that time, you most likely will be taking out this level here, and you can stair step your way down, right? We can come into points where we could bounce right at this gap right down here around 700, but I do think that we're about to start a negative trend on NVIDIA and at least get some kind of correction, if not some kind of crash, with a possible black swan in the banking, with some kind of banking crisis coming out very soon. AMD, this was a trade setup, but we made sure to tell you, hey, like, you know, AMD looks pretty weak. That's a pretty negative trend. Be careful with this one. So we did see that pop up, and you're probably thinking to yourself, right, this 30-minute could roll over, meaning we could take out this low. That's perfectly fine. I just wanted to show if there is going to be structure here, it most likely will flag like this. But there is actually structure to go higher here. I know that's weird, but you see the left, you see the head, maybe it's dipping down to get that right shoulder, and then we see like a little, 10, 15 point move at an AMD tomorrow. So really trying to see where that would head to. It looks like that gap fill. Looks like right around that 190.50, 191 would be where I'd start to think about, this consolidating more, or maybe just getting ripped away. So the reason I say this level as well is because look at this. If we actually created this, we'd get a left, a head, and then a right shoulder in the future. So that's how it would overall head higher. And then if you wanted to see if this thing was going to skyrocket, then this most likely would come up to this level, this 213 after that. So that's really what I'm paying attention to. I did state that on the 2 hour for AMD, as you are curling over, it's a good sign that the momentum is shifting, but you're not seeing those strong bars above those moving averages, okay? So you want to see them taking back these moving averages, getting them to kind of curl up right now, most of them curling down. So what you want to pay attention to here, if we do see that strength, right, look for that to bounce up. But if that curls back down, this just has a higher likelihood of being a lower high at this point, because it's been beat down so much on this MACD. You can see it would have to really gain some steam. We'd really have to see that buying come in for us to build up to get that new high, or test this high up here, even test these levels here. So am I leaning towards that? Not necessarily. I think we'll get some kind of lower high out of this. Will it take some time, or will it just consolidate sideways like this, and then we see the 2 hour roll down in negative territory again? So be open to that as well, because right now you're creating this. What if we come down to this level and create something like this to head down, creating that little that structure to head lower at that point with some good liquidity grabs? So we are breaking out. We're retesting as of right now. I still think there's some upside here, but I'm totally open to this just curling back down, and that's all I have to watch. If this gets some kind of pop in the morning, does it curl back down in negative territory? Good shot. We're taking out that low at that point, but I see the structure to head higher. So if this is going to go up, I'm still just paying attention to a lower high at this point. Now, meta for everyone here, we gave you the monthly and we gave you the weekly. So something 528.40 to the upside for the monthly and 451.86 to the downside for the monthly. And the thing about this is that weekly, okay, 506.33 to the upside and 461.87 to the downside for meta. Okay, so meta here, one thing I would like to say is you actually do have divergence right here. If this confirms, we can see this ripped away, which is actually a good probability now that we are outside of our weekly expected move. So we're going to look at some daily expected moves that we're going to post to Patreon about this right here, and then we can talk about those live tomorrow morning when we do go live for the stock market. But I just wanted to notify you, this high here, right, we saw it struggle to close above that level twice now. We're coming up into my trend line, and we're seeing that kind of look like almost a double top if this is able to confirm down. So if this actually wants to head higher, I would really look for this 15-minute, okay? And if I was banking on it, I would say 15-minute, look for that to pop, and then we're going to see a divergence roll it over, and we're going to see that 2 hour kind of roll over, and then we're going to start to head down here. Whether that is going to consolidate again to head higher, we'll talk about in the future, but right now it looks like we want to maybe test this level down towards 483 one more time. One setup I was looking at here that actually kind of confirmed at the end of the day was Microsoft. You see this 30-minute divergence, okay? So I have a pretty steep 30-minute divergence here. You're just noticing that we have a solid little trend we're going up on right now. So if that's able to break, we can roll over the 2 hour. The funny thing about the 2 hour, it's showing that divergence as well. So if that rolls over, I just wanted to say that the potential for the daily to roll over is pretty high here, at least to get some kind of pullback. When you do get well outside of your Bollinger Band here to the upside, a lot of the time you like to reconnect with the 5, but when you get that far out, sometimes you reconnect with the 20, sometimes the 50. So we could see a test of the 50 going on into next week with Microsoft, which could make this daily divergence confirm. Look at that daily divergence. If that confirms, you're right next to negative territory, meaning, what does that mean? We could go into a negative daily trend, get something like this going. And that is why, with all these signals, I'm really thinking the technicals are kind of saying, hey, this should be going down. This momentum is getting sick. And therefore, maybe a black swan is the only way that'll happen, because Jerome Powell is scared to actually fix this economy. The VIX may be getting a little bottoming tail here, and we were talking about the VIX for a long time, and right around this area we started to say, hey, I wouldn't be surprised if this goes and fills this gap down here. Look at that. So like last Monday, we were stating how we could probably come fill this gap. What do? Well, we came and filled that gap at this point. So even though I am saying there could be some bad news, we have the divergences on a lot of charts that don't look very good. Volatility is still lower. It's going negative on a daily scale, so we could see this remain down here for a little bit of time. But eventually we're going to break through this, and I believe that we're going to set up something, and maybe this is the moment we've all been waiting for, because on the 2 hour, I'm not really using this for divergence or anything like that. But I just wanted to show how right when we get towards this level down here of about 1250, we see volatility come back in. This is the fear. The fear has been completely sucked out of the market. And that's really what I was saying as far as NVIDIA getting to 1,000. I think NVIDIA getting up towards 1,000 would really suck the fear out of this market. And I think everyone's waiting for that to happen. And then I think that rug might very well be pulled. The real reason that I am worried about some kind of black swan is because of these yields, right? We're not seeing them drop off dramatically after Jerome Powell talked. I don't think that these bonds are convinced that these yields are going to go down, right? So we want to see if this can make a higher move. Now you do have a possible double top up here, so that's why I thought they would really see these, start to fall off. But I think the fact that we're actually leaving them higher just puts banks under more and more stress over time. So if we see an upward move above this 4.362, I'm going to say a black swan is literally probably going to happen, by June. So we have to pay attention to these things. Obviously, we are still open to no black swan, and we're following the price action, trading like water. But this looks very, very bad, and the market is sick. And don't be convinced that this is a good market at this point. It's a good one to trade in, that's for sure, but it's not a good one for everyone's wallet. So today was a great day in the market, right? The SPY was up 0.33. What a big move. The Qs were up 0.47. IWM, that was a trade setup we gave, and that was 0.89. You only got that if it was live. We saw NVIDIA up. We saw Meta up. We saw Microsoft up. But weirdly enough, while the market was green, the SPY and the Qs were green, the dollar actually getting a very, very, very strong bar above the 200, crossing on the MACD, about to go into positive territory. That is why I am really, really worried about tomorrow. I think something very, very bad could literally be happening right in front of your eyes. The dollar coming up while the market comes up, guess what? They're inversely correlated. So if the dollar's going up like this, you better see the market going down like this, or someone is wrong. And I'm going to tell you right now, most of the time, it is the market who is wrong. We know that this is most likely all the insiders selling us, the retail traders, their stocks to get us in at the top. And guess what? We very well might see that top because the dollar is breaking out, able to close again above the 200, and then see this thing just skyrocket with all these moving averages behind it with the consolidation. And now we can start to see some bad things happen. So be very, very cautious with your trades. If we keep trading like water, we are going to be perfectly fine. So I'm very happy that you are here watching this channel. So the overall takeaway here is Lucas thinks that there is going to be some kind of black swan event very, very soon, and he thinks that could very well be tomorrow. I genuinely do, and I just want to be very honest about my opinion. It just means to me, like, I'm not going to go put shorts all over the market. I'm just going to be a little bit cautious with my money, take profit when I see it and it is good for my portfolio, and then make sure to not be taking any big losses at this time, because we could be seeing a lot of things ripped away, and therefore I want to make sure to take that profit. So I'm in a good spot to trade this on the way down. So if you need to trade this on the way down and it's most likely going to be a bear market, check out my bear market course down in the description. It is 50% off. It's $100 right now, just until the end of the month. I want it to be affordable for everyone. That's why I charge probably the lowest course on YouTube, and it is very, very useful. I am getting tons of feedback and people are really loving it. It is having them think about the stock market much more simply, and it is really helping them find these trades. And a lot of them have joined the Patreon just because those ranges are something so useful around that course with that trading strategy. So highly encourage you to do that. But the main takeaway here is, even though you're still seeing upward moves and people are saying, you know, this is bullish from the Fed, this can be easily ripped away very, very soon. Thank you so much for watching. You're always liking and subscribing. You guys are great. I will see you on the live show tomorrow. And if you're on Patreon, make sure to check back later tonight, because I'll have those daily expected moves for every single stock that we do cover on this channel, including Meta, which we're adding this weekend. So thank you guys so much for watching. Seriously, it means a lot to me. It means a lot to my family, and we really do appreciate it from our end. So I look forward to seeing you guys in the morning. Have a great night and good luck trading tomorrow. Peace.